Hello and welcome here on the TUNZE YouTube channel. When you meet new people and you want to understand them, you want to know their history, where they come from, where their values come from. And this is also very important for companies. So in this video we are going to show you all the internals, the history of this company, where we come from, what made us strong and what makes us strong today. For this video I have the best person I could have chosen, my father, who is still running this company together with me. I start with a little funny story. Only a few months ago I've been to the Reef-A-Palooza in Dallas and I was standing at the booth and someone came over, looked at me and Roger told him, yeah, blah blah, this product, this is actually Felix TUNZE. Oh, Felix TUNZE, this guy looks very young. I thought TUNZE is a old traditional company. And he said, yeah, he's the third generation. You mean what? Third? So his father founded the company? No, his grandfather. Oh man! And actually, really, in this moment I realized that this is not very common in the English-speaking world, but actually this is very, very common and it's our backbone, it's in our blood. It's the German economy, the family companies, the German, there's actually an expression, Mittelstand, companies that grow for long periods. This company was also founded by Norbert TUNZE only 13 years after the Second World War here in Germany. This is so many years ago, it's more than 65 years ago. My father even wasn't born then, but he still knows some details about this time and this might be interesting for you. The first chapter is now about the start of this company. I really found out in the US, especially, that some of the customers with longer experience, they know us, they know the beginning of the whole industry, and they know that when we here in Germany already had an established aquarium industry, there was hardly anything like that in the US. So we are now talking about this really beginning of the industry. Who was my grandfather?
Now it's my turn?
Yes, it's your turn.
He was a radio and TV master. He was traveling to the Mediterranean Sea and brought some algae and stone and water and some fish. He catch fish by just with a bag and took them in a plastic box and want to keep them alive. And that was his dream. And therefore he also tried to get a pump, was running more than a few months. So these times the pumps weren't able to resist against seawater so long. So
you tried to keep the fish alive? This was a goal?
This was a goal.
And to have a pump that runs also.
That's also, I realized at these times the experts were collectors, mainly not really keepers, unfortunately. He tried to get those pumps to run a seawater a while, or longer, or forever, but whatever. At these times, there was in the total beginning. This time he tried to ask the founder of Eheim to make him a pump for seawater, and he write him about suggestions he made. He refused, and my father decided to make their own pumps. And he stopped his old business in 1960.
So his old business was repairing
TVs, yes, and radios. He also was working for the TV, the beginning TV in Germany. He starts with these pumps. He was member of a club and of many clubs, and he spread his first pumps and see that it works. Other people were interested, and he started his company.
We now talked about the pre-1960s era.
Okay.
So he made the first pumps a few years ago. I've met someone who was one of my grandfather's customers. So he told me, in these times in Munich, if you want to have an aquarium pump, you have to go to Mr. Tunze and he's tinkering something for you. This was the way you had to run an aquarium in these times. And so we still have it. This is one of the first pumps of my grandfather. This is already a 1960 device, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice high gloss finish. With, this is some kind of resin.
PU resin maybe?
PU resin, yeah.
Or similar, or
it looks like it could be almost watertight, but obviously in these times pumps weren't watertight. When has this been made? I still meet people that grow up with these kind of pumps. I don't know.
65 maybe?
65, so they never have been exported to the English-speaking world.
Maybe a very few to Great Britain, but these times not to USA. I think we in the US, we start in the 80s. At this time I was too young really to remember this.
So in this time, keeping an aquarium alive already was a high achievement. Could we say it was kind of a luxury thing as well?
Let me say, after 2 years, we were not a beginner. But 2 years minimum was needed, and it's a pity. But at this time, these products were appreciated, and we were one of the only ones. Even China had no production at this time.
Different times.
A different time.
Here from today's perspective, everything you can imagine is made in high scale in China. In these times, Germany was regrowing. I mean, we started to rebuild our buildings here. The customers of these pumps, they had to fight in the Second World War actually. From my perspective, this is so many years ago. So imagine a few years ago when we had 50 years of TUNZE skimmer. I remember, I think it was in 2014, yes. And the first motor-driven skimmer in our industry was made in 1963. It actually looked more something like that. This one here we brought to TUNZE, only to show people, okay, this was our history, one of the first motor-driven skimmers in our industry. And you know, we had this with our waterproof LED lights, and it looked fancy with all the light shine through it like on a diamond. And there were customers asking us, oh, nice thing, are you manufacturing a new kind of skimmer here? And they really don't realize that this was only to show history. Think about it, many things are still very much the same, and this here was made
70 or 75.
Not waterproof, air-cooled motor. Nice piece. Nice piece. Let's continue with these here. So obviously I grew up in the company, and my father did the same.
In the late 70s, I think, we made a mold. At this time, all parts could be made by mold injection. It was very state-of-the-art at these times. But we also made a big one, also with a new mold. And I think we had 3 sizes. I think we had also a smaller one.
It might be here.
But this was not very successful because we were more focused on the stronger pumps.
For you at home, this is the flow pump of the 70s. This is the flow rate, isn't it?
This is 600 liters.
So 600 liters per hour, 8 watts.
Yes.
Okay.
What can you do with 8 watts today?
Basically more than 10 times. Yes. More than 10 times the amount. The 6075 reaches 7,500 liters per hour, and this is only 600. So, wow. The company, I think it really was built on these pumps here. We still see them sometimes in operation. Our customers today grow up in families, and their fathers use these pumps, as in the former times there was actually hardly any competition. When you were a child, these things were made. Is this correct? You were born in 1961, and so if this is from 1975, then you were 14 years old.
Roundabout, yes.
So this was made at home?
74, we come into this building here. And at this time the mold was already done, and I think we had 3 mold injection machines, and they made there. Yes, and this was a big investment, because before we made with a saw and cut it piece by piece.
Like this one here.
Yes.
Today someone would 3D print it anyway, but in the former times this was the way you do it.
How can people imagine the aquarium hobby at that time?
The reality was that most fish were only hold for 1 year. It was a long period for life for a fish, I think.
Only a year?
Unfortunately, this was nobody's talk about this, but 1 year was okay, and 2 years was great, and I don't know really, but I know from my experience when I was beginning, the old guys give me the imagine that they cannot keep the fish more than two years. And it's interesting, when I was starting, I couldn't imagine that a fish has 20 years for life, and at these times nobody really knows somebody, only a very rare people who can say, my fish is 10 years in my tank or so.
And the corals in these times?
Doesn't exist almost. I think it's interesting, when I was starting a little bit to keep corals was fancy. I was jumped in a little like you, very fast, and I think I had to, my father support a shop in Munich. He begged me to work there as a manager, and at the end I had to run the shop by my own and learn the lesson very fast. A pet doctor also gave me advice, and I have to learn within 1 year everything how to run a shop. So I had a freshwater tank in my childhood, of course, but the marine tank, it's interesting, I learned it in a shop, not really on a tank at home. Yeah, my father had one, okay, and I learned, but not really by my own. So my own tank was when I had a shop already. It's interesting, so quick. And one of his friends, he was a pet doctor. He come to in the afternoon. I was studying at this time. I opened the shop only partly. And then I see that these old guys of this time really know so many fish, and they really can learn these lessons because they collect them, and not everybody had the fish 20 years, so that's the point. Now it's a big change for this. And corals at this time, I remember when I start, 87 I think, the first books, only 1 or 2 books were how to show the corals. Normal beginner's book was just a little bit algae, a fish, and this is it. And that's a big difference. But at this time we had a discussion, do you need a skimmer?
We still have it today, by the way.
Not really. The experts, you can do it. It's not the question. It's maybe more efficient or more common, or you can do it without this, of course. But when you start as a beginner without a skimmer, I think you will fail.
What was the first product, by your knowledge, that was exported to the US? That some US customers, or to Australia or to Great Britain?
I think this skimmer here was one of the famous here. Maybe also this version. I think this version and this. This
version here, by the way, is 1975. So this was exported to the US.
Yeah, but probably in 1980 we still made it.
Okay,
And I think we start at these times to sell it in US.
And this is the skimmer cup is still the same it is today. Nice. It's still good. I only want to say that not everything old is everything that is old is bad.
Look at me, I know.
1975. A lot of our competitors weren't even born then. A lot of customers in the US know us for this, and this I have to show you. The power heads of these times. So most of the pumps we just showed you, they were all air cooled. No heat in the water, but don't let them fall. These obviously built up the company, but at a certain point, customers wanted these kind of pumps. So when did we start with them?
I think 88 we started with these pumps a little late, but because the pumps you showed before were so successful.
Yes.
But these pumps were very successful because the noise was so low. They had no fan, and the bearing, by the way, was the longer life than the other pumps.
And one of the steps that really changed the company a lot, when these pumps were out, when we were selling this, how big was the company then?
This was 2002 when we started with the stream you mentioned. I think we had maybe 20 employees about. And when we start with this pump, this is just a power head with a propeller. The first pumps, by the way, had the same body, and we only made a housing, a stronger one, more professional than this. This is the very first.
I think a prototype, of course.
I think we took it from a small, tiny toy, from a motorboat. It's interesting that since we start with these propellers, all our competitors could just copy the version, Okay, they're different. There are only one or two kinds of propeller common. At the moment, we made a new propeller, and we're obviously the only company who made to a progress, because nobody else tried to expand the idea. Unfortunately, we have to do it, or by luck. I think it makes fun when these new elements improve the market.
Obviously, we have a lot more of these toys here behind us, and we could continue for many, many hours. The point is, time is changing. I'm 35 now. I was born in 1989, so I'm as old as this nice skimmer here. When I was 21 in 2010, this nice flyer here came out. It was innovative aquarium technology, and it really was here our history and how long we are on the market. For most of my time here, this was the most recent version, but it's now already 15 years ago. And now I'm also feeling that I'm also now kind of part of the history of the company already. I just, for the preparation here, I've seen that really this is a nice thing. Somehow we still have it here, one of the first care magnets that has the shape that you all know. But one detail here, this blade here was made out of a mold of my grandfather. So he somehow, for any of his parts, used a part that had exactly the shape of the blades, and really that's why this is 86 millimeters, because that was the mold of my grandfather. And we used it to mold inject the special plastic to test it. So the idea of my father, algae scraper only with plastic blades, the mold of my grandfather to test it, my young bloods to play around and tried it, made this care magnet already 11 years ago. So I'm already also part of the history, and this feels kind of strange. I'm quite sure that in a few years, maybe in 20 years or so, maybe in 25 years, I might do the same video with my daughter, and then she will watch this video. Maybe she will laugh, or she will feel touched seeing her grandfather with so many hair. This really touches me, and really this is one of the strengths of the company. I'm sometimes telling the stories when a new employee wants to work here, and he's telling me, yeah, I have 20 years of experience. One of the things you have to find out, did he really work for 20 years and has 20 years of experience, or has he only worked for 1 or 2 years and learned 1 or 2 years and then did all the same for the rest, I don't know, 18, 19 years? This is really what makes someone strong, adapt to what happened. And only when I look back at the last 5 years, we had COVID, we had all these wars, we had so many things changed, energy prices raised. You always have to adapt, and really what makes us as a company strong is that for all these years, all these decades, we adapted to the newest trends. We invented products because we listened to you. This makes me very, very proud. And really, as a preparation for this video, I was going through all these pictures because my grandmother was one of these grandmothers printing all the pictures and writing down the dates. And 50% of our collection here is only pictures of the employees and the parties, their babies, their weddings. We are really a family company that grow together with their employees. And so I am now here and my father is here and we are responsible for the company, but all the people behind, they are actually the heroes that I'm very proud of. Obviously, my grandfather started the company when there was no industry. Today we are in a very, very competitive industry, and I'm ultra thankful that my father made it possible for me to come to this point. Really, he supported me so much. Imagine when we were developing the Stream 3, everybody's saying it's your pump, Felix, but actually I had so many nice colleagues here that helped me. When we started this pump, I still remember, it's already 10 years ago again, one of these first motors like this one here started to be alive, and you know, we had one of the first pumps with magnetic bearing running, and I was so proud. And this is all only possible because my father worked his ass off his whole life to support you and to support me and to trust in me. And this is really something I'm very, very thankful, because I know that there are so many fathers out there that, you know, don't support their sons in a way he supported me.
You did start the same study that I did, physics, and I was so impressed by this, I was sure that you can handle it, no problem.
Obviously, I'm now really touched, and I think we should leave it with this nice and warm words. I'm very thankful for those of you who watched this video to the very end. Thank you for supporting this company, and thank you for being part of our community and for being part of our values. I can swear you that I will work my ass off my whole life to make reef keeping as easy as possible with our products. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.